Be vulnerable, or forever be a slave to your ego. Because the more you try to win, the more you will end up losing. The less you try to win, somehow you'll end up winning and not even know why. The more you're scared and the more you try to be fearless, the more you will experience fear. Because you are acknowledging the fear as important. But when you run into the fear, you realize it was never there. It's like a ghost. It can only control you if you give it power, if you give it the power of fear over you. The ghost can give you a very ugly and scary show, a very ugly appearance. But if you run through the ghost, you'll find that it was never there. And it's the same thing with fear. Fear looks like this big, bad, scary monster that's going to destroy us, but when we look at the true nature of it, we realize that it was never there in the first place. And the only way we're going to defeat fear is by being vulnerable. The thing with this ego is that it has been built up to protect you from something that never was. And what it's protecting you from is shame, regret, indecisiveness, loss, or what it thinks it's protecting you from loss. But you'll find that the more you try to avoid losing, the more you become a loser. It's like a man who begs his wife to stay with him. He thinks the more he shows his love, the more he tries to prove himself, the more she'll love him. But this is never the case. Because that's not how life works. How life works is that the more you are detached from something, the less you fear something, and the more you are open to something, the better your life will be and the easier it will be to attain that thing. And the easier it will be to enjoy that thing once you have it. But this fear of vulnerability, we think it makes us strong, but it actually makes us weak. If you look at the nature of a river, or if you look at the nature of water, water has been around for billions of years. But during that period of time, beautiful stars have came and went. Beautiful, massive dinosaurs have came and went. Beautiful mountains, you wouldn't believe how beautiful they are. We'll never see them. They came and they went. But you know what remains? That soft water that you could just put your hand through. Often we fear the feminine, the divine feminine, but the more we embrace it, the more we become free, the more we become aligned with Ma Kali, the divine mother, which is our free and wild nature, our nature that is unconcerned with losing and unconcerned with gaining. The reason we suffer is we are taking the game too seriously. This is why we try to protect ourselves. Because we think we have something to lose, or we think we're something to lose. So if you want to cry, cry. If you want to dance in front of everybody, dance. But don't let your life be led by fear. If you were heartbroken, admit it. You were heartbroken. If you were hurt, admit it. You were hurt. But don't try to deny reality. Don't try to run away from the truth. Because you can try to run away from your pain, you can try to run away from your fear, but it'll remain there. It's like a person who thinks that by ignoring his disease, that means the disease will go away. By ignoring his relationship problems, he thinks they'll go away. And then when he gets cheated on, he'll feel like he's cheated on, and he'll see, how did this happen? How did I not see this coming? Well, the truth was right in front of you, but you did not want to face it. If you had faced it, you could have dealt with it properly. But you wanted to be this tough person and this perfect person where everything is going right and nothing ever goes wrong. But this is the biggest mistake that we make. Because once we can admit that we are weak in a certain area, we can become strong in that area. But the more we lie to ourselves, the more we become a liar, and the more we are punished for that lie that we tell ourselves and others. Because it takes true strength to be vulnerable. A lot of people think that it takes a lot of strength to be closed. But just like the water example I was using earlier, it takes true strength to be soft and fluid and not fixed in a certain way. You'll notice the beauty of water is that it's not fixed in a way. Its way is the way. It doesn't mind being in a square sometimes. It doesn't mind being in an ocean. You look at water. Water has no ego. A water doesn't say, I should be an ocean. The water doesn't say, oh, no, I don't want to be a pond. The water doesn't say, no, I don't want to be little rain droplets in the rain. The water just remains water. The water's glory, or I don't want to be consumed by a human. No, the water's nature remains the same wherever it is. Its glory, its use, its value remains the same wherever it is and whatever state it is in. So to be scared of certain emotions, such as sadness, such as feeling lower than yourself, lower of yourself, or high of self, these are irrelevant because they cannot touch your true self, your true being. All these concepts that we place on ourselves is nothing but a lie. What are you so scared of? Who are you? What are you? Ask yourself these questions. Analyze the fearful moments that you have gone through in the past. The moments where you felt like your entire world was falling apart and nothing ever made sense, and you felt like nothing would ever make sense again. And see how those times passed, where they all led to nothing. So the Dharma is the ultimate vulnerability, because it's forcing yourself every day to be devoted to the naked truth that everything leads to nothing. And this is so scary to the ego, but it's very actually freeing to the ego. The ego doesn't like being part of the whole. It wants to take all the credit. Not knowing a group, working in a group makes its life much easier. Working and being one with the whole makes its life much easier. And one might say, how can I practice gaining more vulnerability? Well, this is where devotion to the guru comes in. Because it is so easy to say, I learned from this professor. It is so easy to say, I am this great person. I taught this person. I did this and that. But it's hard to be the student. It's hard to be vulnerable and say, I do not know. But only a true teacher can admit that they do not know, so they can be open to all answers. And this is where devotion to the guru comes in. When the devotee bows to the guru, he's giving up his ego. He's practicing vulnerability. Because the devotee knows, the fools, the egotisticals, they'll judge him bowing down to the guru. They'll say he is a follower. Even though Krishna, who is known as one of the greatest leaders and the greatest inspirers of others, also bowed down to his guru. And Krishna was God, and he bowed down to his guru. See, God is so humble. God bows down. Because God is so great, bowing down is nothing to him. It doesn't say, oh, I'm too good to bow down, I'm this and that. The devotee does not see himself as a follower or a leader. He just is as he is. And so to practice vulnerability by bowing down to the sages in gratitude and thanks, and recognizing and thanking them for helping us realize our inner godhood, we are giving up the ego. So if we are bowing down an action where this narcissistic world judges and projects. They mentally bow down to the Taylor Swifts. They mentally bow down to nonsense. But when somebody is bowing down to themselves in another form and thanking that other form for reminding themselves of their true form, people judge that. Isn't that insanity? But this is the beauty of devotion, is that the devotee doesn't need the world to understand this. The devotee takes pride in being insane in a sane world. Insane in an insane world. It takes a crazy person to be loving without fear. Most people love, but they never truly love. They love half-heartedly. But I'm telling you, the more love you give and the less you have fear about giving out that love, the more love you will give back. And this is where practicing devotion to the Guru, bowing down to the Guru, you take away that fear, you take away this pride, bowing down to the Guru, because this is the problem with what does pride stop you from? Being vulnerable. And what does pride also stop you from? Letting go. Because when you're vulnerable, you also have an ability to let go. You are able to let go of your emotions. They're not so important to you that you have to wrap them up and keep them tight to where they end up exploding anyway. Man, the truth is so beautiful. What is there to fear? What is there to be scared of? It all disappears anyway. Look at this mind. Where does it go? It all ends in the flow.